Welcome to the Jason de Sousa Show.
You're listening to the Jason de Sousa Show with me, Jason de Sousa. And today I thought we'd do a bit
Hang
of a
on. Jason, this is the last episode of the year, so we're going to do a hostile takeover. You are now going to be the guest.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to be the host.
I thought I was doing a year in review by myself.
No. We're changing things up for the last episode.
How surprising. Great to have you here, Lily. This is so good to actually have you on this side of the table rather than the other.
It has taken you a while to convince me to be here, so.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Are you happy with the year?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. See, I'm going into interviewer mode already.
We need to stop this.
No, but are you happy? I think it's been a very interesting.
I think so
sort
too.
Of year for the podcast.
Yeah, we've had a really good variety of guests come onto the show. Yeah. And speaking of, which guest was the one who surprised you the most? We've had like Rob Stokes. We've had my cousin Andrew.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
about tax.
Yes, not for the tax office.
Yeah.
And then we've had like your doctor come on the show.
He was cool, right?
Really good. Cool. Alice Drew. We've had Armin most recently as well.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about that when you asked me this question. Who's the most interesting? I think they were all fascinating in their own way, and I was sort of wondering how we've been selecting them, and it's really been organic, hasn't it? We're sort of like, we've met this interesting person and we've gone, that person would be great to talk to for longer. Wouldn't it be nice to explore more the conversations we've sort of been having? So I think a couple of standouts for me, when we had Alice on, that whole discussion we had around women freezing eggs because they couldn't find a partner, and what does that really mean about the birth rate and the sort of collapsing birth rates in developing economies, and what is the economic impact of that, I found really interesting. For me, and perhaps this is a male perspective, I looked at it more in terms of the risk to an economy of a collapsing birth rate. Many women, however, the feedback on the show was really around this concept of why people were choosing to preserve their eggs at an earlier age, and the reasons for that around societal pressure upon finding the right partner and expectations around that sort of partner and all that sort of stuff. So I think that to me was a really interesting piece of feedback. I mean, the audience feedback to me has really been surprising, in terms of how it's hit. Like, I think when we had Dr. Rayar on, Shiva Rayar, who's a great doctor, and when I go to see him, obviously I'm seeing him about, hey, can you fix me, please? But that whole discussion around the latest around HIV and the treatment of HIV, and it's now more of, people treat it more like a normal ailment, an infection, rather than a life, a death sentence. I thought was fascinating. A lot of people responded to that. I thought was interesting.
Okay.
A lot of people responded to, concerns around their children becoming sexually active, and kind of how did that work, and and look, I'm getting to that point myself with my own children, who are starting to talk about boys and things like that.
How does that make you feel?
I'm okay about it. I think I'm surprisingly okay about it.
Okay.
I'm surprisingly okay that they're growing up. Having said that, they're still in primary school, so only one has started to go into high school, and all the teachers tell me that your daughter in high school changes. You almost don't recognize them anymore. So ask me in a few months. So I think that was interesting. I mean, I think I've done a lot of exploration this year around Asia, and as we've gone into more work in Asia, and my friend Eamon Fitzpatrick, who came on the show, and I went to Hong Kong together. And what was really fun about that for me was that he and I are both kids of Hong Kong. We both established a life here, and going back together with him and sort of exploring, being together with him around Hong Kong and reminding ourselves of what it was like to be young there, even though he was in a different stage of life to me. He's a bit older than I am. So, but we had similar experiences, and we've had similar backgrounds, and interestingly from very different sides of politics. I mean, he's on the sort of Labour side of politics. I came from more of the coalition side of politics, but very much shared experiences, very much shared views of the world, a great love of sort of Asia and the sort of growth in trading relationships between Australia and Asia, I thought was fantastic. And that's not something I really, in my career today, have had a real chance to do. So I think that's been really interesting. But I think they were all interesting in their own right. Like, Rob coming on the show was interesting, him being, other than being super intelligent, just having such a nice broad focus on policy issues. Armine recently, the last episode, coming on and reflecting on some time in government, which for me was a long time ago now, right? It was well over a decade since I was doing that sort of work, and yet it still feels very fresh. So yeah, all in all, a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so like out of all the guests that we've had on the show, who has been the most surprising, that was unexpected?
Unexpected?
Yeah.
I don't know about this season, but I will comment on a prior season where we had sort of this corporate executive on, and you'd remember this, and it was really hard. It was really hard, and this person was a really nice person and clearly very educated and clearly did lots of great things, but had just absorbed the corporate talking points in such a way that it was almost unwatchable. Like there was just no humanity in the conversation at all. And it took us a good half an hour to crack this person and get them out of the corporate
talk.
Speak.
Yeah.
Right? And it sort of made me realize as well, like this whole podcast thing, we've been doing this now for a little while, right? And it's now becoming a thing. Like people are talking about podcasts a lot more now. They're listening to a lot of podcasts, whereas I think when we started, I'm not sure it was such a big thing, but there was a lot of corporate podcasting. So, hey Lily, tell me about the latest SaaS development, improvement, technology, blah, blah, and, what do you think the ride of data centers will be, like that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there was a lot of that stuff, and and I sort of realized, thinking about our show, how that's not what we want to be. No. And we just want to be as open and honest in exploring some issues as we can.
And I think what's really interesting is that when we do have guests on the show, it's not about self-promotion, it's not about, it's about issues, it's about like the bigger conversation, like in what they are an expert in, rather than we can get you in front of however many thousands of people, or we can promote your new venture, or
that's right. And we get a lot of requests for that, right? We get a lot of people, the days of us asking people to come on our show because we're desperate for a guest, like when we first started, is not the case now, right? Yeah. So we get a lot of people saying, hey, I've written this book, or I've done this thing, or I've got this product, or we get some really interesting ones. This person is a self-help coach, and I'll tell you what I also find interesting, what audiences find interesting, which is I remember we had Jean Nepo from Rwanda on, who told his story about how he escaped the Rwandan genocide, and his story of being a refugee, and he married an Australian, and his whole story is just horrific in what he had to endure as a child to watch his entire family be murdered in this entire process of the genocide, and has now gone back with his wife to create this amazing institution, the Mustard Seed Institute, where they are training the next generation in farming and providing an education, and all this back in Guanhoba, which is where their village is, where they're from. And I just thought that was an amazing story. And I just thought that was just, like, how could you not be completely taken back by the story? But then I had, my friend Duncan Young on, who was talking about, how to live a healthier lifestyle. And that got massive hits. Everyone loved it, right? Everyone's like, oh yes, Duncan's got this 12-step program, and I'm gonna do that program. And I'm thinking, really? Wow.
But I think also a lot of people do have, a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on health and well-being. And I think in terms of the Australian audience, or the more developed like countries, that is probably what is more relatable to
I
them.
agree.
Although
I agree. I think it was more tangible. It was
Yes.
more tangible. I can relate to this. I can understand it. I can act on it. Somebody telling me their story about how their entire family was murdered in front of their eyes, I can't relate to that.
Yes.
And so I find it difficult to accept. And it's sort of, so I think, you know, you were asking me earlier, you know, where do we want to go with some of our next stories? I think our show is really about trying to tell stories, trying to explore some interesting ideas, trying to work on the fact that, you know, I am genuinely an intellectually curious person. I like to talk to people. I like to hear their stories. I like to understand what makes them sort of tick and why they do what they do, which is really what the basis of this story is. I think, you know, the audience likes that, and I think we should try and push ourselves a little harder next year to see if we can find some more complexity around things. And I go back to the Run Club being an example. Like Shiva talked about the Run Club, and we talked about it, right? The fact that you see these huge lines of people just running around with these boom boxes on the back, that's a social phenomenon. That's fascinating. And now you have this idea, I read an article, the idea about the South Asian Run Club.
Oh.
So, you know, if you're a South Asian person, you might like to meet some other South Asian people. So let's go in a South Asian Run Club. I'm like, oh, okay. That's interesting.
That's like, quite a specific group of people.
I didn't realize that you had to have an ethnically, you know, specific run club.
I think that kind of ties into the topic that we're having at lunch today as well.
Yes, around this identity thing.
And needing to label everything.
We haven't looked at that really, right? We haven't looked at that diversity question. And I think we probably should. I mean, both you and I are ethnically diverse people. I don't wake up in the morning and go, geez, I'm glad I'm ethnically diverse, you know. I'm going to go and now, as an ethnically diverse person, go and live my ethnically diverse lifestyle in Australia. I mean, I don't think that's a pathway to success for a society. No. I'm very much of the view, and I know you are because we have this conversation frequently, that the pathway to success for a society is to embrace your cultural difference in your desire to make your homeland, which is this country, successful.
Yes.
And I love the fact that I have an interesting background, that I'm, you know, an Indian kid from Hong Kong, went to a British school, and now as an Australian with a very Australian family, right? I think you have a similar story. Tell us your story.
Oh, my story. So, born in New Zealand. My background is Chinese Vietnamese. And then, I moved to Australia about 10 years ago. So, I don't know.
And now you've married a Hong Kong Chinese kid who's an Australian?
Yes, who born in Australia. I'm always joking that, you know, I married him for a green card, but...
I make that same joke.
The thing is, it makes no difference because I'm from New Zealand. I
know, you don't need it. Yeah. So I used to tell that story. Marguerite used to kill me. Right? Look, you know, I had to marry somebody, so I married Marguerite so I could stay. And people would look at her like, what's wrong with you? Like, why would you do it? I didn't need it.
It's like, why are you encouraging this kind of like...
Yeah. The other line I often use is, you know, this country has given so much to me and given me so many opportunities that I felt I needed to marry one of the local girls to give back to society, right? To which point she just looks at me and goes, what on earth was I thinking? I could have married a normal person. You know?
See, I think we have quite similar sense of humor.
Terrible
in that
humor.
sense. Yeah.
But look, I mean, I think this whole ethnic diversity thing, I think it's important for us to speak up on it. I think it's important for us to talk about it because I think there is a group of people in society who have been born into our country, who have gone through our schooling system, who do feel somewhat different, dislocated, separate, and my question is why? Because that's a sort of, I think if you're born in this country and you feel different within it and you feel excluded from it, then that is a problem. And we need to understand what that problem is as a society and fix it. And it is one of values, it is one of inclusion, it is one of all those things. But it is a two-way street. You need to be willing to be part of a society in order for society to enable you to be part of it. So it is a bit of a mix, and we have this debate constantly. You know, I remember moving here from Hong Kong at the time, and you'd see these early 90s, 97, you'd see people with very low levels of English, you know, being on these sort of, you know, tabloid shows and being spoken to in broken English and all that sort of stuff, right? And that creates dislocation and difference. But at the same time, you know, the children of those original migrants have gone to school. Most have done exceptionally well. They are all in very high paying jobs, are doing, not all, but many are doing very, very well and are contributing an immense amount to Australian society. So why aren't we celebrating those things? Why aren't we saying, well, actually, you know, the migration story is one where this country has provided opportunities to migrants who've come here and done exceptionally hard, and they have integrated and used those as the sort of exemplar, rather than focusing on division and difference, and right. So it's a vexed issue. It's a very difficult issue. It's one I don't think I really paid any attention to when I moved here. I think it really became a thing in the last sort of 10 years or so, where this difference thing around ethnicity,
but also around that, Australia is such a multicultural country. Sydney, Melbourne, especially. So if you are having, I guess for lack of a better word, an identity crisis, you know, where do I fit in? I'm of a certain ethnic background, but I was like born here. I don't quite fit in with the, you know, Australian kids, but I'm not also quite, I can't really fit in with the Asian kids either, or, you know, whatever it may be. If you're having a hard time fitting in here, then I mean, it kind of makes me wonder, well, in every other country that isn't so diverse, it will be so much harder there, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, I talk about tolerance all the time. Like, you know, in Hong Kong, there's a low level of tolerance for many people from the mainland, right? There is a significant difference between, you know, Hong Kong Chinese people and mainlanders in the way they behave and talk to each other and experience each other, and mainlanders hate it, and you know, and that's a thing, right? So there's difference in India. My goodness, there's plenty of difference in many ways in India that plays out, and they're all you know, you can be of the same ethnicity and there's still difference, right? So there's difference everywhere. I just think as a country, you know, how do we make sure we bring ourselves together as a country and we unify around common values as opposed to difference.
Focusing on differences.
And you know, we were talking earlier about the sort of social media impact of that, where the social media that you watch reinforces your views on things. Like their famous algorithm, you know, just keeps feeding you the same thing. You're different. You're different. You're different. You're different because you said once you might be different.
Yes.
Right. And the same with your, you know, your ideology is this, or then I'm just going to feed you this ideology. So there's a lot in that I think we started to explore a bit when Mark Woodland came on the show, who obviously lives in that tech world, and you know, fascinating going out to that startup that he funded and seeing all these young 20-somethings run around, and I'm like, wow. You know, those guys have probably done
really cool
they've probably done their capital raise by now, right? Fascinating. I mean, that kid Sachin, who we should have on the show. I mean, he'd be in his early 20s, I would think, right?
Yeah, I think he's in his 20s somewhere.
Yeah, and they're doing, I think they've got their own podcast, right?
Yes. I think it's a specifically tech podcast.
It's a very tech podcast. I listened to part of it, I have no idea what they were talking about, right? But we should have him. We should have him on the show, actually. I think that would be good.
Sachin will reach out to you soon.
Yeah, we'll reach out to you, Sachin. You're on the list. But I think some of these societal issues that we cover on our show get covered extensively on other parts of the world, but I'm not entirely of the internet podcasting world. But I'm not sure it's done fairly. Like I'm just interested really in in the sort of fact that we as a nation, we as a country, we have such potential.
Yeah.
And one of the things that makes countries successful is successful societies. And so we should be putting all of our energy into being a successful society. And that comes down to unity of vision. It comes down to families wanting to have children, right? Because they believe that children are a good thing.
Yes.
It comes down to housing affordability, which we talk to many people about, where, you know, it cannot be a good outcome for Sydney and Melbourne to be amongst the top most expensive cities in the world.
Yes.
Ranking with Tokyo and Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, yes. Are we on par with Hong Kong now?
I think if we're not,
or surpassed,
we might be one position behind Hong Kong. And you think about it, there's 7-point-something million people that live in Hong Kong on a size that's sort of smaller than Sydney by a long way. And yet we're on that list. And so there's some serious problems with the way we're approaching public policy in some of these areas, how we're approaching planning. And look, to be fair, governments are trying very hard to do something about it. If you look at the Min's government here, they're pushing rezonings, they're pushing planning, they're trying to streamline planning approval processes, asking department officials, what can we do? How can we speed things up? How can we make things go, right? The federal government's pumping billions of dollars into affordable housing projects, all of which is good. But then, you know, we're also doing more deposit schemes and more first home buyer, I think, all of which inflates the prices.
Yes, yeah.
And while the states are, yes, they're pushing through rezonings, we're still facing, you know, an elevated market for labor costs, for construction costs, for all that sort of thing. That is making housing difficult to deliver, which, you know, we've covered a little bit on this show as well, right? So I think that for next year is going to be a big issue that we'll continue to keep drilling in on, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of the
we've got Stephanie Graham
people...
Sorry, I interrupted you. We've got Stephanie Graham coming on the show, who's going to be chief executive, or already chief executive of Lend-Lease Australia. And is a wonderful person, very smart, and is going to do a great job. So we can ask her these questions.
Yeah.
How do you cut construction prices? She's not going to want. She's not going to want to answer that.
But it's okay. We don't censor on the show.
That's right. Actually, we have done. We have done. Just
that one time.
Just that one time.
Yes.
When we went a little hard on a topic and thought maybe we should. I did make a mistake once where I was talking about Pakistan or something and ended up referring to Israel somehow.
Yes,
I remember how. So I did make a mistake.
We did cut that part out. Yes.
So, but no, traditionally we haven't had to really edit too much. And I remember when I started the show, well before I had you on board, and you made the show real and professional as opposed to what I was doing. But I was cutting out ums and ahs and trying to make it this sort of polished sort of show. And the audience feedback was, why are you doing that? It doesn't sound natural. It doesn't sound real. You know, I want to hear a conversation. I want to hear a sort of free-flowing I don't want to hear this sort of edited thing, which worked for us, right? And you remember when we were starting, we were doing, when my great friend Marie Scootis was producing the show, she was like writing actual subtitles, like actually writing it out. It would have taken hours. And I remember saying to her, now of course AI does it and you know, we can edit it. It's much faster.
I mean, it's still not great.
It's not great, but it's much faster.
It's a step,
And I remember going back, wow, that's a lot of effort. You know? But you know, we do these things because we want the craft to be good.
Well, actually, speaking of subtitles, we did do subtitles for the entire episode at one point.
But we're not doing that anymore.
No, we're not doing that. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges that I had in terms of producing and editing the episode. It was the subtitles.
What do you think? What do you think? So we have the long form show, right?
Yes.
And that's great. People
only
like
for the
it.
long form. I mean, for the subtitles.
And we find a lot of people listen to it on whatever they want. Like a lot of people listen to it on Spotify or whatever. Increasingly, people are watching the whole show on YouTube, but not really. People like to listen to it. what are you finding in terms of, you've been chopping things into clips, and they're sort of going out on different platforms. Do you think people like that? Is that your sense?
Yeah, no, I think people are really liking the shorts that we're pushing out onto LinkedIn, onto YouTube as well. Yeah, we've seen a huge increase in viewership from what the shorts that we're pushing out before. So those ones were more like the 3 minute, actually they're not really shorts, they're like short videos. So like the 3-5 minute videos that were by topic. And now that we've done 1 minute shorts, they're really nice bite-sized pieces of information, and then they can watch, a few of them of the same episode.
Yeah.
They're interested, then they can click through to the full version.
They click through the full. I do find that people are finding it's not a situation where you release an episode and everyone listens to that episode like they're watching, a TV series or something. It's sort of, people go to podcasts that they find interesting when they're ready to do it. So we find episodes that we recorded last year all of a sudden get the spike because the topic is relevant.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's something that's been surprising to me. Back to your earlier question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then I think what we could also do is all the old videos, all your old episodes.
Yeah, we need to find those.
Yeah.
They're somewhere.
If you can, that'd be great.
Yeah, they'll be around somewhere.
Yeah.
We should put them out, I agree.
Yeah, and especially in shorts form as well, because some of those topics were really interesting too. Yeah.
I think for me, what I want us to do is stay really true to what our original objective was when we started the show, which is to be intellectually curious, to really focus not necessarily on the topic of the day, but on what people are doing in society, why they are doing what they're doing, and how that interfaces potentially with the topic of the day, right?
Yeah.
And I think to me that's interesting. Like again, cycling back to Mark Woodland, one of his main concerns. I mean, he is a guy who sold his first business, which focused on childcare, and is now building a healthcare startup, which is a tech-based thing. And one of his main concerns is housing affordability.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Right. And his whole focus when it came to sort of unrealized gains, which was a terrible proposal that the federal treasurer was.
A
lot of comments on that, right? But when he made that point, and I thought it was a terrible proposal, I think most of society thought it was a terrible proposal. But his perspective was really interesting, which is, well, this whole world of startup is one where you get shares at zero and they increase in value as you develop your IP. Are you going to tax me on that?
Yeah.
Because that's what unrealized gains means.
Yeah.
Right? How are you going to value that? What's the impact of that? And by the way, if you do that, I'm out of here. We're doing this somewhere else.
Yeah.
Which fortunately, it's very rare that, and perhaps this is a somewhat cynical view, but very rare that when a government announces a policy in that way and they're going to implement it and they do consultation, it's very rare that they change their mind. So the fact that they did, and they did not proceed with that policy, tells me that there was such a visceral response to the Treasurer's proposal that he dropped it wisely, in my view. But again, that shows how I think on point some of our discussions have been with people, right? Because we had a lot of comments on that unrealized gains thing. We had a lot of comments on the what did I call it, frozen eggs.
Yeah. Yes, that's a very real concern though, because I'm at that age where I'm like, do I want kids? Do I want to, continue my business? Like, as in, do I want to grow my business?
If I want them later, what do I do now?
Exactly. And so I think career is a massive reason why people are having kids later as well.
100%.
Yeah.
Right. I do think we need to explore those kinds of issues a bit more. I think they're interesting. I think Marguerite's been talking to me about medical misogyny, for example, which is an interesting concept. The idea that, women's medical issues are kind of not really accounted for properly by the medical fraternity, who just don't recognize that women's bodies behave differently to men's bodies, and therefore there might be reasons, right? And one of these things is, is sort of like different deficiencies in vitamins and things like that within the body that causes women to do different things versus men. And I think the Herald was running a sort of story on this medical misogyny thing. I thought that's really interesting.
Okay.
And I think it's probably something we should explore a bit more.
Yeah, maybe we should have her on the show. That would actually be hilarious.
What, having Marguerite on the show?
Yes.
Well, we did have my brother on the show.
We did, and I think we need to get him back on again.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, once wasn't enough?
You guys are actually very entertaining together.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. I
Goodness
think
me.
you have very, very good connections and chemistry with a lot of the guests that you have on the show. And I think that is what makes the show so successful as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it like that. The
Because
chemistry.
not everyone can just... Because I feel like a lot of people who we do have on the show, you've only met a handful of times.
Yeah, that's true.
Like with who was it? Mark Woodland, right? You met him once, like a year prior.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you had him on the show.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what gives you the edge over other podcasts, other hosts, because you do have that.
Do you think we should do
connection with
more?
them.
Do you think we should do more international ones? So, for example, we had that Indian journalist on.
Yes.
Smita Sharma,
Yes.
who is an independent journalist, referred to me by Sanushka Siamangal, our lawyer, who keeps me out of prison, and is fantastic. And was also a guest on the show very early on when I was just starting out. And the reason why we had Smita on was around that whole India-Pakistan thing. There was a terrorist attack which killed.
Yes.
It was a horrific attack in India. India responded in kind in Pakistan, and then there was this border dispute, and President Trump came out there and said, "I solved all the problems," and the Indian government said, "No, you didn't.
Like,
we didn't need President Trump's assistance. Thank you." And so, fascinating thing. I looked at that and I thought that was quite interesting. And of course, we interviewed her online.
Yes.
I know our preference tends to be to do things in person, but I do wonder whether we should do a little bit more international stuff. I just wonder whether we should try and get more of a perspective from a US basis or a Singaporean basis or whatever, right?
So, proposal. How about we take the Jason de Sousa Show international, where we travel to them?
I love it. Let's go do it. Let's go do it. Well, Will Canty, my US-based senior advisor for AiYA, he was threatening to do that. He's like, "Oh, why don't I be a subsidiary show for you in New York? And I can go and interview." I'm like, "Yeah, you go do that. Can you put on an American accent too while you're at it?" So no, I think that'd be cool. We could go travel and do some.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
I did film a few clips while I was overseas, and
yes.
I did one in Japan and a few others.
You did a couple in Hong Kong as well.
I did a couple in Hong Kong with the selfie stick.
Yeah.
You do feel a bit ridiculous, kind of filming yourself.
Once you get over that, you're good.
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. People often ask me, how did the show start? The show started just because I just started talking to my Microsoft Surface, right? And had a camera, and I was just giving for some reason, felt that people would be interested in what I had to say, and posting it on LinkedIn, and people started reacting to it, and I went, okay, well, I should talk to other people. It's pretty boring talking to my Microsoft Surface, and so that's really where things have started, and sort of evolved to now, where we've got this great following, and people are interested in what we're talking about, and they give ideas on what they'd like to hear more of, and I know this guy, you should talk to this guy, and it's great when people give us ideas.
And people recognize you on the street now.
Well, yeah. So Marguerite never believed that, right? Like I'd be on the phone to her, and she'd say, "Oh, who was that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It was somebody who listened to the podcast." And she was like, "Oh, well, you're only, people only recognize you in the 4 square kilometers of Martin Place, right there." I'm like, then. I think I told you the story. I found myself in an airport in Adelaide. I think it was Adelaide, and somebody said, "Oh, I love that show, Jason." And then they went off to their gate, and I had no idea who it was. I rang her up and we said, "Guess what?" No, but I appreciate it. I appreciate that you like the show, people. I think it's good. I think the more you tell us that you like it, the more we want to do it. So it's helpful.
Yeah, and it would be really good to see what the audience wants to. Hear us talking about the topics that they want to hear us talk about. Also guests that.
Oh yeah, I'm up for guests.
Yeah.
I'm up for a new guest. I mean, I think we've got a pretty full list.
I feel like we don't have a shortage of guests.
No, but it's always good. I do think we need to explore young people a bit more as well.
Okay.
You know, I mean, the whole youth thing. Like we had Sophia Huckle, Andrew's daughter, on the as an intern, and she even filmed a clip with you, I think.
Yes, she did. Yes.
So she's just finished school and is top of the charts at school and is an accomplished young woman. What goes through her mind? What goes through the mind of an 18-year-old?
Yeah, maybe we should have her on.
Maybe we should. I just go, what does, I mean, I look at, and you know, a friend of mine and I were talking about this the other day, what does 18 look like today relative to what it looked like 50 years ago?
Yes.
And I suspect, I could be very wrong, and I could get myself into all sorts of trouble, but I suspect 18 today is a lot younger than 18, 15 years ago, 50 years ago.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I read somewhere about that too.
Really?
Yeah.
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 I mean, what are you seeing? I mean, your
I'm
cohort are quite a bit behind mine. I've met a lot of your young friends.
I am also quite ahead of 18-year-olds. Like, as in, my age is quite ahead.
Sure. So that's very young. But what would you be? You'd be what, a Gen?
I would be a millennial.
You'd be Gen Z? No, a millennial.
No, I'll be millennial. Yeah.
But you'd be a younger millennial rather than an older one.
I think I'm smack bang in the middle, actually.
So what are millennials feeling?
In terms of life in general?
What are millennials feeling?
I mean, I feel like we probably,
I've stumped you.
Let me think about this.
I've stumped you.
No, I think we millennials can be considered the middle generation in a way.
Okay.
I mean, everybody forgets about Gen X, which I get. But in terms of boomers, millennials, Gen Zs, alphas, I think we kind of have the best of both worlds in a way, where if you, so for example in property, if you started the property journey earlier, then you didn't, you'd be doing pretty well now. And you know, we always say, oh, if I bought a property before I was born, then like I'd be a millionaire by now, you know those memes. But we're very lucky that we didn't quite grow up in the era of technology. Like it wasn't around when we were born necessarily. Yeah. But we kind of grew up with it when we were a little bit older. So when we were like 10, 12, that's kind of when tech started to come out.
Phones and Facebook and all that stuff when you were about 10.
Oh no, probably about like 13.
Yeah. See, I was at university, or on the edge of university. I think maybe it might come in last year or second last year of school or something like that. Right, where you had phones, and I had a pager at school.
Oh gosh, like those phones. Yeah, I grew up with those phones. You had to push the number 3 times to get the letter that you wanted.
Eloise, my daughter has one now. So what's interesting? It's amazing how the world comes back, right? So all parents who do not want
those phones.
They do not want their daughters and sons having access to smartphones.
Yes.
And so
I've been seeing that trend too, actually.
Nokia have come out with a version of what we had when we were at university, the 38 or whatever it is. So I didn't have it actually, but anyway. Everyone had the Nokia something.
Yes.
And she complains about it. She says, oh, you got to press the button 3 times to send a text to your friend.
And you have to wait, and you have to do it again. But you don't have to wait. You just push that the arrow button.
I said the predictive text, right? And she's like, oh, it's just ridiculous. And I'm like, well, hang on. I did it. Like, we all did it.
Yes.
And I had no problems texting people,
So, but it's great because you can text without looking.
Yeah, you could just...
I remember at one stage in my life, I was like, it's so bad. But I was a teenager at that time. I'll be talking to somebody, I'll be texting somebody at the same time, like under the table.
Yeah, well, people do that now, right? They sit in meetings and they're texting. And I think that's another thing I'd love to explore a bit more is sort of mindfulness a bit more. Like,
yes.
I was listening to Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO at JP Morgan. He's famous, not just because he's the CEO of JP Morgan, he's famous because there was a leaked a leaked meeting where he was talking to JP Morgan staff, and he's like, look, this is how things work. You got to come to the office. Don't tell me about stay-at-home Fridays. You're on Zoom. You're not reading your stuff. You're not, you're texting each other, and it was expletive laden. And then, and stay-at-home Fridays. I know I'm in the office on Fridays. I ring people. You can never get them on the phone. And it's very simple. You don't have to work at JP Morgan. This is the way we do things here. And look, I respected him for it, because I look at it and I go, the work from home thing is a product of COVID, which accelerated this whole flexible working thing. And I think there's a lot to be said for flexible working. If you look at our type of lifestyle, our types of jobs now, where we have different clients, we have lots of different places we have to be, we're in different cities. There is no be in the office, but we still have an office.
Yes.
Our people come to our office to gather, to be together. We had our Christmas function was in our office. It was, everyone came together, and people we work with came together, right? So I have a lot of sympathy for the view that you do need, if you're going to be productive as a society in a working environment, you do need to come together.
Yes.
And you do need to be in a place together. And that doesn't mean all the time. That doesn't mean every day of the week. That doesn't mean anything other than, collaboration and in-person meetings or discussions, workshops, whatever they are good, right?
Yeah, no, I think so too. And also it puts you in a mindset that you are at work.
Yeah, I think
as
so.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are definitely days where I work better in the office.
Yeah.
And there are days I work better at home.
Sure, I do.
And I do find that when I am in the office, my mindset kind of changes a little bit as well.
And the one thing, again, a lot of people say, and I agree with this, is that for those of us who are sort of mid-career and have a situation where you could easily work at home, you could meet your client in your beautiful house, you could meet your client for breakfast, because you kind of live in the same area or whatever, or maybe they've flown in from overseas and so you might have dinner with them, or whatever, and you don't go to the office and your younger staff don't ever see you, and you send them an email and off they go and they do their work. What's that doing for the next generation? That's hardly a pathway to success. I think of all the people I learnt the craft of what I do from, I did it by being with them.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Not by email, right? There's no email osmosis from that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think maybe we should talk about that. We should get a guest on the show next year to talk about that topic.
Yeah.
Because Gen Zs are, sometimes I feel so bad for Gen Zs. They graduated in the pandemic. They had to do uni in the pandemic. They had to finish high school in the pandemic, do exams online. I can't imagine what that would have been like.
Online exams would have been interesting.
Yeah, how do you even monitor that? If you have 100 people on the screen, tuned into a Zoom call, how do you even monitor that? But anyways, separate topic.
Also but it's not really, because you look at the impact on university campuses of online teaching, right? So if you asked me what one of the greatest experiences of university was, it was collaboration. It was people. It was meeting people, learning from different people.
Yes.
International students that I got to interact with.
Clubs. A lot of people love the clubs.
The college I lived in, Robert Menzies, the guys and girls I lived with there are still amongst my closest friends.
Wow.
Amongst right? And I came to this country and really only knew one person and one or two people, and now that's where I met my friendship group. And so that didn't come from an online experience, it came from being with people. Now college, of course, you're living there, but I mean, still university. There was a lot to be said of being on campus, and now you find that kids are going through university without that experience. And so what does that mean for them?
Imagine.
What does that mean for them as growing up as a person. Like one of the debates that I think people are having frequently is universities are not necessarily preparing people properly for the workplace. And one of the reasons for that is not the academia of it, but it's the practical, critical thinking, problem solving elements of work that are not being taught effectively at university, right? And so, I've seen plenty of young people come into corporate life and sort of struggle because they're waiting for instructions, or they believe that they've got this amazing degree and therefore that should
be suffice.
Yeah. And that's
the reality check.
Well, I agree. Like I've said this before. I don't know whether I've said it on the show, but I've got plenty of university qualifications. I don't think anyone's asked me for them in my career.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. It's like once you get your first job, nobody really cares where you went to uni.
No.
Nobody cares.
Seems
really.
in Sydney people care more where you went to school.
Yeah.
That's or college. Yeah, my great friend Andrew always talks about he's a St. Andrews guy. Is on the alumni. So this so and this guy in this college and so and he's the son of blah who was the grandfather of blah blah. And I'm like, I thought that was a sort of Indian thing, like we kind of go through, but no. So I have to sit through and hear endless discussions about all that stuff. Right. Yes.
All right. Well, I think we are running out of time a little bit, but next year. Yeah. So we've spoken about a couple of topics that we would want to explore next year.
We haven't talked about AI,
Oh, that is a monster in itself, though.
I mean, part of me goes, everyone else is talking about AI. Should we talk about AI?
Maybe an area of AI, like a very niche area of AI. Maybe we can get your brother on to talk about.
You really want him back on the show, don't you? Just like we can have him on. I don't mind. We can have him on. It was actually, you asked me earlier what that was like. That was an amazing experience. Because you realize, like my brother and I are very close, right? We, my family, we are very lucky. We've got this amazingly close family, and I'm grateful for it every day. But my brother and I are close. We have very different views of the world, which can sometimes in families push people apart. But we find a way of, being brothers and being able to disagree respectfully when we need to. But what was really cool about that experience for me was I had never really delved into what he does.
Right.
Because when you see your siblings, what do you talk about? Mum and dad, the kids, I don't know, maybe a hobby, a sports game, whatever, right? Yeah. Some other thing. You don't see your brother necessarily as an expert in a particular field, or you just don't. You're off the clock. Right?
Yeah.
So sitting down with him and talking about that stuff and hearing what he does and how he approaches it all and some of the really interesting things that he's doing was fascinating. And I thought it was a really valuable experience. And he actually just won an award, like some American award for being a global expert in cyber privacy stuff I don't understand award, right?
Yeah.
Which should be,
then.
it's a great result for him, right?
Yeah.
So good on you, Tim. Congratulations, Tim. Well done. Yes. So Lily wants you back on the show.
I do, yes.
We can have him on. We'll have him on. He can talk about this.
Yeah. No, that'd be really good.
I do want to be flexible, though. I think what we need to do is, we need to stay true to our roots and say, look, if we find someone interesting, we bring them on the show.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, regardless of if their opinions differ to yours.
Well, many of them.
That would be that. Yeah.
Many of us.
I would prefer that actually.
What
somebody whose opinions are.
Yeah. Wow. Who should we pick?
Challenge yours. Yeah.
Find
because that'll provide.
Well, you want a bit of biff, do you?
I'm in marketing. I'm all about the drama.
We could. Oh dear. We could have Andrew on the show. He drives me crazy. That'd be good. I'm kidding. Well, we could. I don't know. Does the audience want a bit of biff? or are they
I
happy?
think it provides differing views.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it kind of allows them to make their own decisions, come to their own conclusion.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine, old school friend of mine, who I hadn't seen in, oh gosh, it would be at least 2 decades. And he said, "Oh yeah, your show's very." He obviously watched it. Yeah, your show's a bit dry. I'm like, well, I suppose it is. But then again, my intellectual curiosity might well be a bit dry, right? I think it just depends on the audience and who watches it. I don't think it's a show for everybody.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no, I don't think so. Yeah,
you know,
and that's okay.
And that's okay. That's the cool thing about
Yeah.
podcasting, right?
Yeah.
It's just, you know,
No one's forced to watch it.
no one's forced to. We put our content out there, and if people find it interesting, they
Yeah,
do, and they
that's
like it,
it.
and I'm all for it.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I think we could have something contentious on there. I don't know. You were talking earlier about being cancelled. Do you think that's ever a concern for us? Do you think, you know, do you think like if we have too much biff that, you know, we'll end up in the media and, you know, we should shut that Jason de Sousa down? Who is that Lily Tran?
See, it'll be hard to shut it down because your name is Jason de Sousa.
You shut that
You
guy
know what?
down.
For SEO, it'll be great.
Oh, right.
It's good. I'll have my lawyer on standby.
It is a concern though, right? It is a concern for you know a show like ours. Yeah. Do we end up in the sort of tabloid media but saying something, you know, contentious, you know? But then again, I don't think we ever really stray into sort of very stupid. My view always is there's a lot of shows that focus on the politics of the day and the noise and the sort of really divisive sort of issues, and that there's a place for all of that, right? I don't think that's our show because I don't think that really allows us to delve into interesting topics, right?
Agreed. Yeah.
And so so when we're considering a bit of biff, we should probably consider that also.
All right. So yeah, I guess.
How are you feeling being on this side of the camera? And will you do it? Will you do it more? That's my question to you.
I do like being behind the camera. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, I really had to hype myself up for this.
Did you?
Yeah. I really did. I was telling Ivan yesterday.
You're always doing our little clips, and you always do our little promo clips and stuff like that. And you're always doing that.
Yeah.
And you've always got your little Instagram clips of you doing interesting things. What's the difference?
I think it's different because this is a 1 hour show.
Yeah, that's true.
Talking for an hour is, I don't know how you do it.
It goes so fast though, right? You're always telling me to wind up.
Yeah. I'm like,
really?
5 minutes left. Like, come on.
You're like, what are you doing? Like, you know? And I'm often, I find that we're getting towards the end of the show, and I'm like, we're really into it. You know, everyone's really into it.
Yeah.
I always ask that icebreaker question at the beginning. You know, how did you get into what you're doing? And I do that deliberately just to put the guest at ease, right? Because a lot of the guests that we have on the show aren't on podcasts. Like, you know, I think about when we had Wayne Poet on the show, for example, who is a very accomplished person. You know, a super thoughtful corporate director. That was his first podcast. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. I thought what he had to say was really, really interesting. Whereas someone like Andrew Lowe, who's written his book on Australia, and a great book it is out there doing a book tour. So he was quite comfortable, right? So it just varies.
Yeah, we have had quite a range. Yeah.
We have.
Yeah.
Fun times.
But yeah, I mean, like with all the guests that we've had on the show, I guess, you know, thank you to Rob Stokes, Wayne Porritt, Andrew Lamb, Anthony Bubalo, Alice Drew. Where am I up to? Eamon Fitzpatrick, Andrew Lowe, Smita Sharma, Mark Woodland, Eamon Waterford, Dr. Shiva Raya, and we also had Arto
Hapia.
Yes.
The Finnish ambassador to Australia.
Yes.
And Armane Nalbandian.
Yes. So thank you to all of you for coming on the show.
Thank you. We hope you had a good time.
And there were great conversations, really insightful, and, you know, run by you as well, Jason.
And Lily, let me say thank you to you. As the producer of this show. Show wouldn't happen without you. And it certainly wouldn't look the way it does and feel the way it does and sound the way it does without you behind the camera. So my challenge to you next year is to have you in front of the camera a lot more. But I love doing this with you. It's such a privilege to work with you. Thank you.
Likewise.
Yeah. And happy Christmas.
Thank you. Happy Christmas.
And happy Christmas
to
to all of you too.
Yes. So yeah, leave in the comments below somewhere what you guys would like to see next year, what topics you guys would like to see us explore, and what industries you want to hear from. And thank you to all of our listeners for your support. You know, we do this for you. So please keep watching and supporting us. And yeah, wishing everybody a very happy Christmas and stay safe.
Stay safe and have a wonderful holiday and a happy new year. We'll see you next year. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.